The truth is this: most women in toxic or abusive marriages don't leave because it's unbearable. They leave because it's unbearable and nothing changes. That's the difference. If you're here, you're probably not wondering whether to end a basically healthy marriage that hit a rough patch. You're wondering how to stop twisting yourself in circles around a man who keeps promising you change but never delivers. Or maybe you're with the other kind, right? The man that doesn't even bother promising to change because he's too busy convincing you that you're the problem, that if you were better, calmer, sexier, more forgiving, then everything would be fine. And that's where the hardest question comes in. How do you know for sure that he's never going to change? Everyone says he's never going to change, right? Maybe the better question is, why are you still making his potential the measure of whether you stay instead of reality? Now, I'm Sonni. I'm a toxic and abusive relationship expert, and I'm a certified coach. So if you're wondering if it's time to leave your husband or keep trying, this is for you. Hit subscribe because you don't want to miss all the things that you need to learn to make the decision. Now let's get straight into it, okay? We're actually going to talk about both types of these abusive men. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you why abusive men don't change in a way that will finally click for you. Because once you understand this, it actually stops being about his potential and it starts being about your reality. Okay, so one of the biggest lies, right, that abusive men want you to believe is that they're just confused, that they're overwhelmed, that they didn't mean it that way. But here's the thing. Confusion doesn't actually create patterns. His behavior is not random at all. It is a cycle. If you think about it, he blows up, he insults you, he goes cold, you cry, explain, beg, he apologizes, or he might not even bother with an apology, but then he's sweet for a bit. He sprinkles in just enough good to reset you, and then the cycle starts over. So if he was truly confused or oblivious, wouldn't he learn after the 10th, 20th, 50th time you told him how much this all hurts? The fact that it keeps happening is the answer. This isn't confusion. It's actually very consistent, right? It's his operating system. He's consistently inconsistent. And for the men who don't promise to change, right? The ones who say things like, if you weren't so sensitive, or you always blow things out of proportion, you always want to fight. That's not confusion either. It's a strategy. He doesn't plan to change, so he makes you the project. He makes you doubt your reactions, your sanity, your worth. But the whole point is that the spotlight stays off of him and you stay busy fixing yourself constantly instead of holding him accountable. It's not a misunderstanding. It's deliberate gaslighting, and he does it because it works. And if you're thinking, well, he's so different with everyone else, more proof. He can control himself at work, with his friends, with strangers, at the gas station, the grocery store, but not with you. Then you know it's a choice. It's not lack of ability. It's actually a lack of respect. But let me guess. You've read the books. You've possibly dragged him into counseling. You've tried to set boundaries. You've Googled all hours of the night about trauma and communication and attachment theory, forgiveness and healing. And him, he shows up to the occasional counseling session, maybe. Maybe he says he doesn't need counseling, or he nods through a conversation, but he goes right back to the exact same behavior, right? He changes, but it never lasts. If he really wanted to change, you wouldn't be the only one exhausted. You wouldn't feel like his mother, his therapist, his manager, and his personal growth coach. Healthy change, it doesn't require you to break yourself in half. But I'll tell you what does: an abusive man. So here's the second side of it. When he convinces you that you're the one who has to do all the changing, you try to control your tone so he doesn't explode, or, you twist yourself into a friggin' pretzel, trying not to emasculate him. You shrink, you silence yourself, you change every part of who you are just to avoid conflict. Those are the eggshells that we're always talking about. Meanwhile, he's totally comfortable. Maybe this guy can be really sweet sometimes. I hear that constantly. Maybe he's great with the kids once in a while, or he buys gifts, or you have fun on a vacation. And I think part of you probably clings to that, right? Because if he's capable of being good, then maybe you just need to wait for more of it. Maybe you need to change you to get more of it. But the truth is, temporary kindness never erases the cruelty. And if you follow me, and if you're not, hit subscribe, you know that I often say the good exists to facilitate the bad. Abusive cycles have good and bad because the good keeps you confused and in the relationship. The kindness that an abusive man shows, it is part of the abuse cycle. A fancy dinner after a week of silent treatment, that's not love, it's control. Him being nice after he hurt you is never change. It is always manipulation. If better only shows up as damage control, it's not better. Healthy men don't need to make you bleed first to offer you a friggin' Band-Aid. If he isn't even offering you the crumbs, because a lot of men do that. Some are breadcrumbing you and some are just ignoring that. Instead, he's doubling down on the idea that the problem is always you. Then what are you left with, right? A marriage where you are permanently the villain, permanently too much, or not enough. And you're going to spend the rest of your life shrinking yourself to fit his ego, and it would never be enough because the point is not actually for you to improve or the relationship. The point is to keep you off balance so he never has to do the work. This is where so many women get themselves really caught, right? What if he changes? You stay because you love who you thought he was or who he could be. You know, that first 6 months of love bombing. But let's flip the question. Do you really want to spend the next 5 years waiting for him to maybe become the man that you wish he was? Do you want to gamble your entire life on all these little crumbs of effort that he can't even keep up? Because hope is beautiful when it fuels you, but hope is poison in an abusive marriage. Hope is a trap. It's your downfall. It is poison. Do you hear me? It keeps you stuck, but he gets to coast along and he reaps all the benefits of abusing you, and it is benefiting him. If he's convinced you that you're the broken one, I swear the trap is even tighter because you're going to keep running in all these circles trying to fix something that wasn't even yours to fix in the first place. Here's what I see all the time, okay? A woman sits in front of me on Zoom meetings and she tells me that she doesn't know if she should leave. But I'm telling you, her body is telling the truth. It's why she booked the session to begin with, right? You know that knot in your stomach, the way that your chest tightens every time you hear his car in the driveway. You can't even relax in your own home. That version of yourself walking on eggshells every day, worried about his mood, your nervous system is screaming, this isn't safe. And you're just waiting for your mind to catch up. I always feel like it's kind of a battle of the mind and the heart, you know? And if you have kids, they're already living in this, right? They're learning what love looks like by watching you two. And research shows that children in high conflict homes often do worse than children of divorced parents because that model of love that they grow up with is complete dysfunction. And even if you don't have kids, your body is keeping score. The anxiety, the stomach aches, the insomnia, the rumination, all those health issues, literally your health is paying the price. This isn't really just about the marriage. It's about you. Who were you before this relationship? Who are you now? And if you can barely recognize yourself, if your life feels like it's about managing him, surviving him, tiptoeing around him, that is a massive sign. It's not a partnership. He erased you. A healthy marriage truly expands you. You feel good and safe. It's not always perfect, but it feels safe. The aha moment, right? It doesn't usually just come when he does something new. It comes when you finally admit to yourself that you don't even want him to change anymore. You just want out. That's the shift. When the fantasy just dies, when the what ifs lose their hold on you, when you realize that you would literally rather face all the fears of the unknowns in the future than keep circling the same damn problems with this guy. That's when you know. It's not about whether or not he changes. It's about whether or not you want to keep living like this. The question that I promised you at the start, why doesn't he change? Let's make this click, okay? Here's the truth. Abuse is not about anger. It's not about stress. It's not about his childhood wounds, his trauma, his mom was mean to him. The root of abuse is entitlement and misogyny. He believes that he's entitled to power over you, your time, your body, your choices. That belief system, it is baked in. So this isn't about him making a better choice tomorrow. This is about dismantling a worldview that gives him benefits. And if we're being honest, as I said earlier, men benefit from being abusive. They get the last word. They get to dodge accountability. They get catered to. They scare you into silence. They get sex and money and childcare and control without ever having to give you respect in return. Ask yourself, why would he ever stop? Why would he ever stop? I know that's really hard for people to grasp sometimes because you don't seek those things. Those things are not important to you. You want happiness and love and reciprocity, mutual respect. That's not what he wants. He wants control. To actually change, he has to give something up. He has to let go of control and power and entitlement. He'd have to admit, I am not entitled to dominate my partner. And that's not like one apology. That is years of reprogramming entitlement out of his thinking. Abusive men are not fixed by therapy. It takes years of accountability. Therapy's involved, men's groups, constant humility. That's the work. He needs to revisit all of his worldviews, all of his belief systems. Do you know how hard that is? The average man isn't doing that work. An abusive man? Almost never. And the research backs this up, right? Studies on batterer intervention programs actually show that completion rates are super low. Even for the men who do complete, relapse into abuse is so common. Lundy Bancroft, who worked with abusive men for decades, right? He says the success rate of true permanent change is extremely slim and only possible when a man has actual deep, sustained accountability. No excuses. None. Zero excuses. That is rare, like wildly rare, not even worth talking about rare. Here's what real change would look like. Not promising to be nicer after an outburst, not promising you flowers after screaming at you, not going to one counseling session or 5 counseling sessions and calling it progress. Real change is actually him consistently respecting your boundaries, honoring your autonomy, letting you leave the relationship if you want to, treating you as an equal in every way. And he would do this day after day, year after year, not when it's convenient, not when he wants something, not for 2 weeks and then back to the old patterns. And then like, oh, you always expect perfection from me. Real change doesn't happen overnight. I can just hear his excuses now. And how many abusive men do you think are signing up for that? Very few. And honestly, by the way, it doesn't actually matter if he's cruel on purpose or just too selfish to care, because the impact on you is exactly the same, right? You're drowning either way. That's why the question isn't, can he change? The question is he changing? And if you're here watching this video, I think you already know the answer. You're sure when you stop asking, will he change? And you start asking, do I want this to be my life? You're sure when you realize that these little crumbs of good do not outweigh the damage and the pain and the abuse. You're sure when the work is one-sided, when your body's in survival mode, and when you have just absolutely lost yourself. And you're sure when you realize that the only thing that seems to change is you. You doing the bending, the apologizing, the explaining, the shrinking, while he stays exactly the same. It's not a partnership at all. It's proof. And if you're sitting here with this pit in your stomach watching me, hating every word I'm saying right now, you don't have to wait for him to validate your decision. He doesn't have to agree that he's abusive or that he's even treating you badly. And I know that you already know that. He won't agree with you because he's too entitled. He thinks that you deserve this, that you're causing all the problems. If he wanted to be better, he already would be. Your reality is the validation, right? And if you're not there yet, that is okay. It'll click. It always does. Book a time to talk with me. Drop a comment of what you're wrestling with, because I promise you, another woman is scrolling at 2 a.m. right now, searching for the same answers. And maybe your words in the comments will land with someone else. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next video.